Continuing my Atelier journey, I ended up playing quite a few related games in January, but there was always something in the back of my mind. Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming. This influenced a lot of my gaming decisions throughout January, seeing me stick to mostly smaller experiences and ones easy to come back to, which actually worked out well with the consistent game flow of the Atelier series fitting that way of playing so I could keep enjoying my time in the series. In between though, in terms of other smaller experiences, I took some time to try some extra content in smartphone games I've been playing, along with games that haven't been localized yet that I gave a small try to help me make my gaming decisions over the next few months. So with plenty of JRPGs played throughout the month, capped off with a big release that I'm sure a lot of other JRPG fans were excited to pick up too. Here are the JRPGs I played in January. After such a long wait, it would almost be a crime not to give JRPG of the month to Kingdom Hearts 3 in some ways, but it really does deserve it, as once it was in my hands, it was just as fun and gorgeous as its trailers made it look. I picked it up on the day of its Australian release and played it pretty much non-stop for 4 days, so on the last day of January, I was about halfway through as I rode ships through the Caribbean. I have more detailed thoughts about it in my review, but to sum things up, it was a great Kingdom Hearts game. The worlds were memorable with all their different mechanics, the new attack styles were fun to watch and gave battles more strategy than I remember from previous entries, and in spite of the fact I'd only finished 1 and 2 before playing it, I was glad it filled me in enough to have the story be moving and meaningful, which was a big relief. The only downside to Kingdom Hearts 3 is that while I thought its length was fine and the story was told well, a 35-hour experience is naturally going to feel a little short for a game with this much hype, so I plan to make sure I get more out of the experience, which isn't too hard as its world is a lot of fun to run around in. I've already spent a little time getting lucky emblems and taking time to see just how big areas are and what other things there are to do, so hopefully I can put more time into it throughout the year. For now though, I appreciate the fun time it gave me, and I hope that with the push it's given me to try the other games in the series along with the Disney movies it's introduced me to, I can check out more of the world of Kingdom Hearts in some way soon. Since I finished Atelier Rorona DX on New Year's Eve, the first game I played and finished this year was Atelier Meruru DX, since my leftover excitement from Totori meant I couldn't wait to start Meruru right away. I'm pleased to say that its twist on the gameplay for the Atelier Arland series has managed to cement my love of the series further, which will become evident throughout this video, and it was a close runner-up for JRPG of the month thanks to how its town developing mechanics made the gameplay loop more rewarding. I've written my review and hope to share my thoughts on it soon, but being able to visually see the effect of exploring and creating items on maps along with the usual character development and alchemy fun was an addition to the gameplay I really enjoyed, and it's got me curious to see if the upcoming Nelke and the legendary Alchemist game will capture the same kind of feeling with its development aspects too. I unfortunately haven't touched it since I played it, as I want to look at the whole trilogy's extra endings in order, but I look back on Atelier Meruru as the most fun I had with all 3 games in the original Arland trilogy thanks to how rewarding it was, and I hope to share more of my thoughts about it soon. After I finished Atelier Meruru DX, I knew I wasn't ready to leave the Atelier series just yet thanks to all the extra endings available to unlock. I told myself I'd get Atelier Rorona DX in Japanese to help my Japanese studies while doing this, and I did end up doing that. But before I could head to my local game store to pick up a physical copy of Rorona, I came back to Atelier Lydie and Suelle in Japanese for a day or two so I could have no gaps in my Atelier playing time, while also getting me familiar with some of the language. It's almost been a year since Atelier Lydie and Suelle came out in English, and I haven't touched this story in a while, so it was refreshing to get reacquainted with the charming Lydie and Suelle again, as I got to know all of its synthesis-related words and its take on the system. And having played the Arland series, seeing the gorgeous art style from Nelke this time round, and the general upgrade in visuals got me even more excited for the 2 Atelier games coming out this year, as the visual quality nowadays really makes the gorgeous art style look stunning. In my short time with Lydie and Suelle again, it was nice to be reminded how enjoyable and beautiful more modern Atelier games are, and also that the Mysterious trilogy is one I definitely shouldn't forget about as I get to know Atelier. So as more Atelier games come out this year, it's a good reminder that there's plenty of good games from the series to get to. A little before I had decided I wanted to try Atelier in Japanese and switch to playing Lydie in Seoul because of the post-game content in Atelier Rorona DX featuring Rorona, Tottori, and Meruru all together. I was still playing my second playthrough of Rorona in English and got pretty far considering that I stopped playing midway through the game's second year. In a much more careful playthrough than my first one, I was probably on track for a much better ending since my assignment scores were significantly higher and I was working out how to best raise my Atelier's popularity with things like its quest system. Even though I felt a little more stress in keeping quest deadlines since I didn't want them to affect my popularity, it was a good stress compared to the first way I played that led me to my bad ending since I was able to properly feel the challenge of balancing assignments and reputation while putting in the effort to keep Rorona's Atelier as you're supposed to. Unlike most games I start in Japanese and end up becoming overwhelmed by, I managed to put over 10 hours into Atelier Rorona in Japanese, and while there are still things I require my dictionary app for, I'm at a point where I know what enough things mean to keep playing without stopping every few minutes, meaning I can actually play the game properly. Using my improved gameplay skills from my second playthrough, I've been able to unlock more of the conversations I was finding in the English version, and also more ones just by having been at different places at different times or having different party members together. So going through has been very rewarding as it feels like I'm getting something unique out of this playthrough, aside from experiencing it in Japanese. I still hope to play with Atelier Rorona in Japanese throughout the year for practice, although admittedly I haven't touched it since Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's nice to have it ready and waiting in Switch cartridge form for whenever I'm ready for a productive session in its complex world. I got a little more confident with my ability to play Japanese games after being able to play so much of Atelier Rorona, so I thought I'd give myself a challenging reward in the form of trying Dragonstar Varnir for the first time, a game I thought looked interesting when my boyfriend played it, but assumed would be way too hard for me language-wise. Turns out I wasn't wrong about the Japanese, in that its harder fantasy language was something I'm really not familiar with at all, but this instead meant I took time to focus on its interesting multi-layered combat system that involves positioning across layers, eating dragons, and some crazy transformation sequences. The gameplay was an interesting experience that I do plan to talk about in another video, but I'm also looking forward to when it comes out in English since my time with it got me intrigued enough to look into its interesting premise. It features witches that essentially carry a dragon inside them that can make them very powerful when they draw upon its powers, but they also live in fear of the day the dragon will try to escape their body, in a true blessing and curse situation. And since your in-game decisions can affect how this power affects the witches, I'm curious to see how it all plays out. I'll be leaving it alone for now, but when it gets a release date in English, I hope to have some time to play it to learn more about its story and gameplay. Speaking of dragons, Dragalia Lost called me back to it, albeit briefly last month, with the announcement of a Circuits of Dream event that one of you was nice enough to let me know about in a comment. And not only did it feature a colorful circus theme that drew me to it, it also had adorable new units and its own story for the event. I had hoped to complete the event's story, but my Atelier kick meant I was playing other portable games at the time, so I spent a lot less time with it than usual. But the gorgeous new units had me make sure to use my free tenfold summon ticket, where I got a new themed worm print and a unit from the previous musical ensemble event. So while I didn't get any of the new units, I felt good knowing I at least got something. I liked the small bit I saw from the event, on top of getting New Year's perks for signing in during January, but my mobile game mood at the moment is still lower since I've been playing so many console games, so I'll likely be leaving Dragalia Lost alone for a while unless an event catches my eye again, and in any case, I'll be keeping it on my phone for the next time that Dragalia Lost urge comes. The two main smartphone games I was trying to get into last month were Atelier Questboard and Atelier Online, with me not even knowing that there was an Atelier game for smartphones until I saw them on Atelier's Japanese Twitter. Atelier Questboard caught my eye at first thanks to the gorgeous art designs of some of the cards you can earn in-game, and its similar but streamlined version of Atelier was interesting in the way that it really did feel like a board game with the way you move. I also liked how much effort they put into giving dialogue and some throwbacks to Atelier games such as Atelier Rorona Rorona in what I've seen so far, and although I'm still in the tutorial phase, it's something that doesn't seem too bad for something to play when I have a spare minute on the go. I at first thought that Atelier Questboard was the only Atelier smartphone game, but then Twitter enlightened me yet again with an ad for Atelier Online, which I always thought was a PC game, but actually turned out to be the more recent entry in Atelier smartphone games. Atelier Online looks like a more traditional RPG version of Atelier for smartphones, at least from its trailers, since I'm not very far in because there was more dialogue than expected, but there's both character creation and an original story that makes me want to check this one out as well. While I love the look of the art for Atelier Questboard, I'll probably come back to Atelier Online to actually give its mechanics a proper try, and although they're only available in Japanese right now, I'd like to see how they compare to console Atelier games as I learn more about this series as a whole. I made my JRPG New Year's resolutions last month, and one of them was to get through a backlog game, with Persona 2 being the specific game I had in mind for that goal. I didn't think I'd get any time for it last month, but I had a few times in January where I'd go to play Atelier Rorona in Japanese, but wanted to play something that required less of my focus. So Persona 2 being in English and something I'm used to just picking up at random intervals throughout the year seemed like a good candidate, and I was happy to put an hour or two into it. Unfortunately, I'm still in the dungeon I was in last month since I kept getting caught up in traps and found myself sent to the bottom floor, so I took some time to regroup by feeding my characters, healing up, and getting ready to go back in, which between random battles on my way out of the dungeon took a bit of time on its own. At the very least, those traps are now marked on my map, so hopefully I have a more successful time the next time I jump in and can make more significant progress next time. Since it's still the first half of February and I've finished Kingdom Hearts 3, I have a bit more time to catch up on unfinished video ideas like my Atelier Meruru review before the JRPG I want to play comes out, and that JRPG is Death End Request. I'm pretty excited for it, as I mentioned in my most anticipated JRPGs video for this year, because of its interesting premise. The MMO world is centered around a game director called Sheena who finds herself trapped in her own game, and with its interesting concept and battle system that is said to play with multiple genres when you use mechanics that hack the game, I'm interested in checking out its world and helping Sheena try get the good ending that she needs to escape. Death End Request is my main plan for the month, although I do plan to keep true to my resolutions and keep playing Persona 2 to keep very slowly getting through it. And I'll probably end up playing Atelier Rorona as I continue on my quest to try and see what other endings I can get from it. Outside of those games, the Japanese version of Nelke and the legendary Alchemist is currently in my home, and I was very intrigued about that game last month after Famitsu did a livestream showing some of its gameplay, so if I get the time, I'd like to give it a proper try to try and understand its talent developing systems and see if it's anything like what I liked about the ones in Atelier Meruru. With other demos sitting on my PS4 hard drive too, there are more things I want to play right now than I have time. So with Death End Request as the only thing set in stone, I hope to have fun playing many good and interesting experiences throughout the month of February. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you played in January and what you plan to play in February. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, or you can check out the blog at jrpgjungle.com, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at jrpgjungle. Links to those will be in the description below, along with links to all the games I mentioned in this video. Until next time, thank you. Bye!